Hey, buenos dias, ¿qué pasó, amigos? John's Motor Garage. Welcome back to the channel. So apparently there's a lot of people out there who think that I hate the Yamaha V-Max, and that's simply not the case. So today we're gonna set the record straight. So this all started a few months back when I purchased a Yamaha V-Max used on Craigslist or OfferUp, one of those places. I bought the bike, I did a handful of videos with it, and one of the videos that I did was buyer's remorse. Here's why I regret the Yamaha V-Max purchase, and it had in parentheses learning lesson. And basically what it all chalked up to was I missed a lot of issues with that bike when I purchased it, and it had nothing to do with the bike itself. It all had to do with just the actual purchase, or in other words, it had nothing to do with the V-Max, but rather just the things that I missed on that private party used purchase with the motorcycle. So for example, the fork seals were leaking pretty bad. It had a leak in the engine, oil's leaking, the kill switch didn't work, and those were the big ones that I mentioned. And basically because of that, I had regret, buyer's remorse. I just did not do my due diligence. I didn't do what I should have with the purchase. Additionally, another big one, I paid too much for the bike. I went into it really just wanting to get the bike for the channel, to use it for that purpose. So I didn't go into it with my typical parameters when buying a bike that I know I'm going to have to sell in order to minimize loss. So for those reasons, I did regret that purchase. The reason I do those videos, again, is because it's a learning experience for me, and I know other people can learn from that as well. It's never to like whine or gripe or anything like that. A lot of people took that as I hate the Yamaha V-Max and don't like the motorcycle. And like I said, that could not be farther from the truth. Having had the V-Max and ridden it, I have a huge, great respect for the machine that it is, because it is a monster bike. There are things I disliked about it, such as the handling. I thought it was very poor, but overall, I do not hate the bike. In fact, if I were to find one again and the price was right, I would definitely scoop it up. But this time, I would definitely do my due diligence, make sure I was doing a better inspection, and I would just make sure that I bought it at the right price, because that's going to make or break what I do. And so that's really, it's as simple as that. I'm not a Yamaha V-Max hater, and if you've been watching the channel and watched any of my other videos, then hopefully you get that impression that I'm stoked on all bikes. I'm down to ride all bikes. I've tried out tons of different bikes. These are bikes that I physically go out personally and purchase with my own money. These aren't bikes that companies are sending me. Nobody's paying me to go out and do this. I mean, I make money on YouTube, but that's not something that's a guarantee per se. So, and this is something I've bought and sold and tried out different motorcycles years before I ever started this channel. So there you have it, you guys. I'm not an anti V-Max dude. I think the bike is gnarly. I would love to get my hands on a second gen V-Max as well, see if they made any improvements on the first generation. But yeah, it is what it is. So as always, you guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support. Speaking of crazy muscle bikes, I've got two gnarly muscle bikes, cult classics, right here. And if you follow me on Instagram at John's Motor Garage, then you'll see a sneak peek of one of them. The other one I have a deposit on, and I've had it for like a week plus, and I don't know what is going on with this dude. He keeps telling me funds are supposed to be coming any day, and so we'll see what happens. I otherwise had another dude who was gonna buy it. I'm sure the other guy would have bought it, but this guy showed up first, said he had a deposit, said he was gonna come back next day with cash. Hasn't happened yet. It's been like a week, so we'll see what happens. I like to, be fair with my dealings, so I'm not gonna do anything to screw him over. I'm just gonna be patient and see what happens. This other motorcycle that I'm staring at is freaking gnarly, and I will be bringing you guys videos on that one soon. Another little update, the Harley-Davidson FXDX, it is finished. It's ready to roll, and I was going to pick it up last week, ended up picking up some extra shifts, and so I hope to pick it up this week. Super excited to get back on that bike, because it's been too long. I want to say shout out, you guys, to all the companies that support John's Moto Garage. Rebel Reaper, Torque Motorcycle Co., they did those saddlebags. Slimeball Nation sent me some swag. Money Moto, they're out of Lithuania. They do the GPS tracker for motorcycles. Cruiser Originals, big shout out to you guys. These are all companies that are in the industry, and so if you're looking for apparel or whatever it may be, you can support them. Breaker Boys crew out of Colorado sent me some gear as well. So all cool companies. I think it's rad when companies support the little dudes, and so I'm always willing to support and shout that out as well. No, they're not paying me for any of this, and yeah, I think that's it. All right, you guys. As always, thanks for the support. Like and subscribe if you dig it. You can hit me on Instagram at John's Moto Garage. We'll catch you on the next one. Let me know, have you ever ridden the V-Max? Do you love it or hate it? If you hate it, why? And we'll leave it at that. Hasta luego. Nos vemos. Alright, buenos dias, que paso amigos, John's Moto Garage. Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, before us here today is the Yamaha V-Max. This is a 2007 V-Max. This is basically the first gen, still carbureted, 4-cylinder. This thing is a freaking monster. It's a beast. Right over here, you'll note I have the Yamaha Warrior, considered a muscle cruiser. I've had the Yamaha or Honda VTX 1800. I have the Suzuki Boulevard M109R. But everybody forever has told me the ultimate muscle cruiser is the V-Max. So anyway, a lot of unique things about this motorcycle. When it first came out, it was critically acclaimed for its gnarliness, unique styling. People said it was great in a fast line, but sucked as far as the suspension and cornering goes. That's what the critics say. Let's jump on and see what my impression is. A Joe Schmo wannabe who just picked this up yesterday. We'll let it warm up real quick. This does have a 4-into-1 Voodoo exhaust. So she sounds mean, man. Sounds real mean. And I believe this is the same 4-cylinder engine that they had in the Yamaha Ventures or the Yamaha Royal Star, just obviously tuned slightly different. Jeez, just listen to that. This thing is just over the top, man. This thing is loud. Alright, so let's start with some of my basic first impressions. I gotta say, initially when I throw a leg over this bike, you know what it reminds me of as far as the ergonomics? It reminds me a little bit of the Harley Davidson Street Rod. It does have these more like mid-aggressive foot controls, and it almost sits you in a squatting. It's almost like you're squatting. I'm about 5'8". I imagine taller riders would not be wicked comfortable on this motorcycle, but it makes sense for the type of bike that it is. I can't imagine forward controls on this bike. That would not make sense to me. So the handlebars, you've got these classic drag bars, not super aggressive as far as that goes. I think the ergonomics go in line with what the bike is accomplishing. You know, it's a drag bike. Now, one of the first things that kind of threw me off is I imagined that these bikes would feel super lightweight and nimble, almost like your Street Fighter naked bike. That's just kind of the idea I had in mind. And to my surprise, they actually don't. It feels a lot more like a cruiser in that regard, in that it doesn't feel like it wants to, you know, really get into the corners. It doesn't feel as nimble as I was hoping it would. Another first impression I had is I imagined on this bike that it would feel kind of like your FZ09 or your FZ07, where it's got that super low end torque and it just wants to, like, bam, throw up on one wheel. But it actually doesn't. It feels more like your Harley Davidson V-Rod, or maybe the V-Rod feels like this, in the sense that those low-end RPMs aren't super torquey. It's not until you get up into the 5K range, 5 to 6K range really, that it just kind of kicks you into gear. What this bike reminds me of is a muscle car. Let me tell you guys a little story. When I was about 21, 22, shortly after I got married, I thought it would be really cool to go out and get myself a sports car. And I happened to find a 2001, what was it?
gosh, dude. Dude, this thing is deadly, bro. Oh my gosh. Jeez. What a freaking monster. Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I thought it would be smart. Dude, I can literally feel my back tire going like this. Not just as I initially accelerate, but while I'm accelerating, it's just this thing is wild. I don't know if you guys can even hear me because this exhaust is so loud. But in my early 20s, I thought it'd be an awesome idea to go get a sports car. I found a 2001 Camaro Z28, 6-speed, and I decided to buy it. That Nissan's right on my tail. Must be an undercover cop. Alright, so back to my story. I bought a Camaro. I almost wrapped that thing around a pole I don't know how many times. I could not handle that car. It was just out of control. The tiniest bit of water on the ground, you know, light drizzle of rain, and I'm spinning that thing around unintentionally. It was just ridiculous. It got to a point. Little bump here. Woo! It got to a point where every time I drove that car, I almost crashed. And it got to a point where I was scared to drive it, dude, because I couldn't trust my inability to handle the vehicle. And this morning, waking up, coming out to throw leg over this V-Max beast of a bike, I had that same feeling. Heart racing, dude. Scared for what might happen. Hopefully they're okay. That quick jaunt on the freeway was not half bad. I mean, it's super loud. This aftermarket exhaust, I would definitely want to throw in some earplugs. It's unique, man. It definitely has a unique sound to it. It's like an untamed beast, dude. That's just running rampant and wild. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it or how to handle it. Now, granted, this is like my second time ever riding it, so obviously with anything you want to ease your way into it. Making our way over to the makeshift drag strip here. Now, I suck at 0 to 60s. It freaks me out. I watch videos of dudes on the drag strip who get all squirrely and they end up on the side of the road. I don't want to be that dude. I think it's important to know your weaknesses, and this is a weakness of mine, is the 0 to 60 drag strip. So don't expect anything awesome out of me. Don't expect any awesome times. I think 0 to 60 on this from a rider who knows what they're doing is going to be sub 3 if I'm not mistaken. Out of me, it's probably going to be like 8 seconds. But regardless, we're going to give it a shot here. And I've actually basically like dismissed all hope of ever getting this thing on one wheel, because like I said, all it wants to do is just get squirrely on that back tire. Yeah, I'm seriously like scared. I'm scared to death to even try a quick takeoff on this thing. I really am, dude. So we're just gonna ease. Let's just ease it. Let's do a roll on for starters. is just absurd, man. We're gonna call it a day as far as that goes. Holy smokes, this thing's crazy. Now, one thing I do want to do is get a couple donuts in the dirt. So I feel like this bike is a mix between almost like it's like a gnarly version of a mix between the Kawasaki Vulcan 650 and the Harley V-Rod. Like the gnarliness of the V-Rod with a little bit better ergos that you get on the Vulcan 650S. Somebody's been out here doing donuts. I wonder who it was. Alright, I'm gonna try and get some clips of donuts in the dirt, just for the heck of it. I mean, why not? Oh my gosh, dude, I'm dying. It's like 105 degrees out here, man. It is brutally hot. Alright, fun little session. I didn't want to push it too hard. This bike is a lot heavier, 580 pounds, than my Vulcan S that I brought out here in the dirt. And so, yeah, we'll take it easy. Now, inevitably, I always have people comment about how I quote-unquote abuse my motorcycles by putting them through these different drills, if you will. And honestly, I don't look at it like abuse. You know, to me, abuse is neglecting a bike, leaving it sitting out, not doing maintenance on it, that kind of thing. Seeing what a bike is capable of, you know, and pushing the limits a little bit, I don't personally see that as abuse. But, you know, I guess that's to each their own. But one thing I will say is, honest question, when Yamaha built this bike back in 1985, 140 horsepower, 90 foot-pounds of torque, V-boost, like just the gnarly of the gnarly, what do you think their intent was for this bike? What was the intended purpose? Because most bikes are to some degree purpose-built, right? You think it was to be putting through the neighborhoods going like, you know, 25 miles an hour? You know, bar hopping, all that good stuff? Guarantee that was not what Yamaha had in mind when they came out with something this gnarly. And so, personally, I feel like this is how this bike is meant to be ridden, dude. It's a muscle bike, dude. It's meant to be ridden hard. You're supposed to get on the gas and accelerate, push it to the limits. And I gotta say, to that end, you know, with that objective in mind, I feel like this bike just knocks it out of the park 100%. But I will say, this bike is definitely not for everybody. I know it's not for me. This is not my everyday daily rider bike. It's just too gnarly, man. It's too gnarly. It's not a bike I'd recommend for Jackie, like I said before. This is a bike that you go out and buy because you want the gnarliest muscle cruiser on the block. It's unique looking. It's gonna kill all the Harleys out there for sure, man. It'll even kill the Harley V-Rod. And at least, you know, with your 0 to 60 takeoffs and everything, your drag racing. This is a dragster bike, man, a drag racer. Or you just get it because this is the bike you dig. I mean, we got a lot of options. You can get whatever you want. Now, I cannot imagine what the new, you know, 2009 and up V-Max has to offer. Now that I've gotten my hands on the first original, you know, the OG, the first gen, yeah, I can't imagine what that other one must be like to ride. Well, I can't imagine. Complete pure insanity, dude. Pure insanity. But yeah, there you have it, my initial first impressions on this bike. I didn't get out to the canyons or the twisties or the curves to really, you know, put it through the paces there. Based on the reviews, that's not this bike's natural territory. But I did have a few feeble attempts at some 0 to 60s and some, you know, not top speeds, but high speeds. And I will say, dude, this thing is scary. Scary for sure. Muscle bike for sure, man. You want to burn rubber and do a couple burnouts and impress the whoever it might be. I think this bike will have it. It looks unique. It's original. It's gnarly, man. It's gnarly, and these are becoming harder and harder to find. It took me at least a year to find one, and that's why I finally pulled the trigger. I was like, dude, I need to see what it's all about. I need to get one, dude. And so yeah, I think it does live up to the hype for sure. It definitely does feel a few of the things that I'm a little disappointed about, but I guess it's in line with the reviews. I feel like I got to muscle it around a little bit, man. It's a little bit cumbersome, if you will. A little bit cumbersome, but I also think the more I ride it, the more comfortable I would get on it. It's very stable at high speeds, which I like. You know, I don't feel all wobbly. Once you hit like 110 plus, you get a little bit of the shakes, but nobody's going to be cruising, you know, daily at that speed, or at least you shouldn't be. It's a unique experience. The fact that back in 1985 you could basically be experiencing the same thing that I'm experiencing today, that's what kind of boggles my mind, dude. That's what kind of boggles my mind. So anyway, there you have it, the Yamaha V-Max. This thing's just, it's a monster, dude. It's a monster. I feel like it's trying to kill me, and it's a gnarly motorcycle for sure. And I will also add that the more I ride it, just like many of the other bikes, the more I get used to it and kind of get acquainted with the bike, the more it's grown on me, dog. All right, you guys, drop a comment below. Have you ridden the V-Max? What are your thoughts on it? Would you dare try one? Would you dare try one? Yeah, this bike, that's what it is. This bike takes the gnarliness of your M109R, bumps it up a few notches, takes the, you know, semi-comfort of your Vulcan, takes the craziness of the Harley V-Rod, and it's everything combined. But the craziest thing about it is this bike started it all, because this bike came out way before those were ever in existence. Like I said, this thing is freaking loud. Somebody compared it to an F1 race car, dude. I would concur, dog. It's just gnarly sounding. Sounds unlike any other bike.